we're going to do our next episode. This is episode 7. We're going through it, guys. I mean, we're not really scratching the surface of what there is to give, which should excite you guys. It's certainly exciting me. I told you I'm having a load of fun with this. So we'll start in the usual manner. In the name of Allah, the entirely beneficent, the entirely merciful. All praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, sovereign of the day of recompense. It is you, Allah, whom we serve, and it is you, Allah, whom we ask for help. Guide us, Allah, to the straight path, the path of those upon whom you have bestowed favour, not of those who have evoked your anger, nor those who are astray. Ameen. I want to thank the entire nation of Islam for being, as it is, our teaching source during such a dark hour. And I would like to thank my mother, who raised me and made sacrifices that I am learning of, and yet will never comprehend the depth of. And I'm sure that's the same for a lot of us, whether it be mother or father. They made tremendous sacrifices for us. And sometimes we don't know of the sacrifices that they're making until we grow up and grow into, a new mind or, a new way of seeing things and really just seeing things clearly. So, just a reminder, if you've still got your father, your mother around, give them a call and let them know how thankful you are that they gave you life, or that they were the agents by which your life was brought about. So always honor them to the best of your ability. And so just the usual, really. It's unusual, but it's the usual that we're going to try and keep up with, keep up to doing. I really want to make my word bond with this, make my word James. James Bond. Just a joke. Okay. This is a document from the 12th of October 2019. So it's quite a while back. If I'm correct, that's 7 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So 7 years ago, we've been really growing, and it reminds me of how the minister. Again, I see a lot of my journey in the minister's journey, and it really has a lot to do with why I'm so in love with him, and I'm so strengthened by him, and I'm so fixed on him as a man, because he's really helped me to see a lot of, or really to have access to unlock areas of myself that I never knew existed, never knew that was even, considered valuable or considered a gift. Sometimes we come from environments that, they do a great job in sort of taking away really some of what is valuable about ourselves, or maybe tainting it, or have us to sort of sleep on it, as they say, or just like lessen the effect of it, or lessen the mass weight and strength of it. Sometimes we should really be careful who we surround ourselves with, in terms of, because a naysayer and an envier and a jealous person, they are not always going to come. In fact, in most cases, if not all, they come under the veil of, praise, or coming under the veil of giving one direction, or giving you, giving you a substance that isn't good for you. So, I'm sure we've had it at parties when we were growing up. Here, drink this. This one's it's not too strong. You take a sip, and it's like almost straight, as they say, which means just nothing but pure fire. And just because they gave you the details that it wasn't that strong. Some people really play you out here. They'll really have you sleep on something that you really should have been waking up to, and they'll ignore you over matters and on things that really, they only ignore you about it because they don't understand it, and again, worse, they envy it, or they have this animosity that they have to grow from it, or as a result of it. And some people just want to stay stagnant. Not that they want to stay stagnant, but they want to it's like the prayer. We seek refuge from anxiety and grief, and we seek refuge from cowardice and niggardliness and laziness. So laziness, like there's that lazy element to us that we can really get trapped in. And when somebody comes with nothing but pure energy or pure truth, that strikes at our laziness, it strikes at our cowardice, it strikes at our anxiety, and it causes motion. It's like light hitting a planet. It's like it genuinely causes the planet to spin, and some people just don't want to spin. Some people just don't like the idea of speeding up the rotation of their own atmosphere in terms of thought and spiritual information and downloads. But I understand that we're all on different degrees, and we have to always bear that in mind. We have to remember that everybody's in their own path, everybody's got their own pace that they go at. But we have to remember that we are here for a very infinitesimally small amount of time, and being the studiers that we are, that hopefully we are, we can see the value in almost like digesting, first eating in bite-size portions truth, and feeding on the wisdom of Almighty God through his prophets and his messengers. We can feed on bite-size. I need to turn that off. I don't know how to turn that off, but it doesn't matter. We need to feed on bite-sized things to just grow. There should be no problem with growing. I think the only time that we're going to struggle is if we lack understanding. And sometimes when we lack understanding, sometimes it can cloud our vision. But ultimately, this is why the Honourable Elijah Muhammad said to work. If you're in pain, work. If you're troubled, work. If you are in a good place of mind, work. Continue to work. Continue to fill up your cup, that you may get to a stage where, like the minister, your cup runneth over. You'll be able to say that. You'll be able to show that. You will be able to live that. And you'll be able to show others how to do that and guide them to how they're going to be able to do that. But we have to remember that things that are, the most blessed things in life, they're not easy to get. And so, although we may study for even a week, it may be even a year, it may not necessarily bring about the ultimate, what we see in the time that we would like to see it in. So to bring it back to the point, 2019, I'm about to read this document from 2019. I've been working, I've not necessarily always used this material. Again, I'm coming back round to it, but point being is, Allah loves a long sufferer, and Allah loves those who, you know, keep their duty and fulfill and are consistent. It says in the Quran as well that, Allah He loves those who do a thing continually or do it consistently. And if we can find a rhythm with study in that area, that would be very good for us. I find that sometimes I found this at the moment with myself. I've only just recently started to like get early nights, and I've not really. I can't believe I've never got an early night. No, but I can. I was always up late nights studying and listening and really going through loads of stuff. Understanding stuff, seeking understanding, seeking Allah's guidance, that I may be a better servant. But what I say this to say is that when you implement something such as that, such as something so simple, you learn to love it, even though at first it doesn't seem like, you might love it. You might think, I don't think I'm gonna love that. You think, I don't really like the idea of that. Maybe it's the Fajr prayer. You're in your bed, you're like, I don't want to get up. But then you learn to love it. But you have to go through the atmosphere to get out into space, to go out into the freedom of making Fajr prayer. Just like you would in trying to go out into space. There's a wall of fire. There's an atmosphere of fire that you've got to get through. And the minister said there's going through the fire, that's no time to turn around. That's the time to, buckle up and get the rockets going faster, harder, So, I hope this is a strengthening kind of introduction as to the importance of study and the importance of being patient and just allowing things to unfold and, being committed as best you can. This is not going to be as long of an episode. I think this might be the shortest episode, but you know how it goes. But I am going to make this like a pretty short episode for us. As it's the 7th episode, the 7th day is the 7th day of rest, in the week, and it is Sunday, so it kind of fits. All praises be to Allah. It's not an accident. Nothing's an accident. So we're gonna go. We're gonna go with it. We're gonna start. Okay. Do not let wisdom become a burden or an influence to aching realizations. Become the ally, and the friend of wisdom. Rejoice when it presents itself, if you can. And if you can, record it and take note of it somewhere that is safe. Let wisdom become your ladder to the next stage of development. Let it keep you clean, busy, and let it strengthen your being. Let it become you, in that others get the opportunity to also wield its vastness and listen to its greatness. You will know wisdom by the way it feels. Your own intuition will be signaling to you the green light to merge with it. Do not run from wisdom when it wants to become a part of you. Integrate with it. Because wisdom will haunt you, for it is everywhere all of the time. Wisdom, or wise words, sometimes, if not most times, reminds us of our deepest concealed or hidden thoughts, our problems, our intuition, and the steps that we haven't or should have taken. Wisdom is a collection of different types of understandings, realization and confirmations, and so many other universal words. Which is why I relate wisdom directly to colour, because there are spectrums and realms of knowing, like there are spectrums and realms of colour. Wisdom reminds us of our inner world that we have either taken a step towards or have taken steps away from. That's why people avoid it, or eyeballs start to roll when it presents itself. Most of the time, it is not because people dislike wisdom, but it's that what wisdom is insinuating us to do that irritates us. Without that strong relationship to wisdom, it can rile up much frustration and pressure within, leading one's heart and mind to have a lethargic response to its presence when it shows up, or rather when you notice its omnipresence or omnipresence. Wisdom becomes like an itch to the soul. You must scratch it or remain irritated by its power. People dislike how much truth wisdom brings to the surface. They dislike the responsibility that one acquires through coming into contact with wisdom, or by being face to face with somebody holding and giving it out. Wisdom brings to the surface of the mind all of those concealed and hidden thoughts that you think can remain hidden. The truth is, whatever you eat in secret is eventually seen in the physical. So I say again, do not let wisdom become a burden or an influence to aching realizations, but rather merge your whole self into it and let it take you to places in your being that you never even thought existed. Never run away from the one that possesses wisdom, because in actual fact, you will be running away from yourself. Praise be to Allah. You know, I always say that wisdom is timeless and knowledge isn't, because there are certain knowledges for certain times that after that time it runs out. But wisdom there is an eternal factor to wisdom, because it's almost like knowledge is as the skeleton and wisdom is as the soul. The soul doesn't ever deteriorate, but the body, the skeletal system, the actual matter, it breaks down. And, that kind of analogy is what makes understanding or wisdom so powerful, because, wisdom it's almost like water. It has like so many different forms. It can come in the form of knowledge, and it can be knowledge, but that's like the solid. But it can also come in other forms that, almost have this sort of unable to grasp element, like the gas. Or it can have this sort of trickling kind of, pouring over type element where it, it flows like water, So underneath that I've put Psalm 37:30, Proverbs 1 and 7, Proverbs 15 and 12. And you know what? We will have a research. We will go and have a look at these quick. I did say this episode will not be that long, and I really do mean it. I really do. Psalm 37:40. Oh no, 37:30. For anybody that wants to also look. It says, "The mouth of the righteous utters wisdom, and his tongue speaks justice." Yes. So these are going to be some scriptures that relate to wisdom, or that mention wisdom. Okay, we got Proverbs 1 and 7. This one says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom." It actually doesn't say that here. It says, but that's what the minister always says, so I always know it by that. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. It actually says here, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." So, that's very interesting. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. but fools despise wisdom. See, I told you, wisdom has that. That's why I started that right up there with, do not let wisdom become a burden or an influence to aching realizations. It's interesting how I started wisdom off with that. So I'm already trying to, knock on the door and say, listen, wisdom's not going to be easy in a sense, because wisdom is the uncoverer. Wisdom uncovers you. It uncovers elements of you didn't even know existed. This is why some people really can't fathom, Farrakhan sometimes, because, pardon me, because basically when they listen to Farrakhan speak wisdom, so they'll think, why am I feeling like something to this brother now? Why am I feeling some type of way? And it's not Farrakhan. Farrakhan didn't do nothing but be the instrument to which the Spirit of God and the wisdom was going to come through. But the wisdom itself is almost like the wisdom is another being that we have to face, and some people don't like to face that being. Some people don't like to face that fact. They always say face the fact, or like face the consequences. See? So, we have to remember that wisdom's anybody that has wisdom know that they have suffered in some way, or they have gone through something to really adopt that. Bruce Lee that we mentioned last week. Look at the amount of training. Look at the amount of discipline. Look at the amount of hard work and just determination. I mean, he created his own martial arts style. Like we said with the minister when he said he's in a division of his own. Bruce Lee genuinely created a whole new form of art, martial arts. I'm not entirely sure what the name of it is. I think it's Wing Chun. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what came to mind then when I was thinking. So we'll go on to the next one, the last one. That was Proverbs 15:12. So Proverbs 15:12. Alright, this one says, mockers hate to be corrected, so they stay away from the wise. Ain't that a fact? See? They just leave us alone, man. They just think, I can't deal with it. So this is what uncovers it, man, because let me tell you something. As a real, true and loving learner, I love to learn. I love to know things. If somebody teaches me something, or is trying to teach me something, I'm really trying to grasp what it is that they're trying to teach me. I just love learning. But sometimes you'll find people that really need the learning, really need the understanding, running from the understanding, running from the learning. And it's very, very ironic. And I think this is some of the things in the Quran, that is mentioned. Like, for instance, it'll say stuff like, what is the matter with you? Such and such and such. Or it will say, what if you are reminded? Such and such and such. Or like, the way that the Holy Quran will speak to us is almost like saying, in a way, what, you will deny your own being's reminder? Sorry. You will deny your own being's reminding you of growth, and you hate it? It's almost like the messenger of God comes to those, usually, that are seeking God, or that claim they do, or that say they do. So it's very interesting how those that seek God really run from God, or run from access or direct access to God, by their relationship to, wisdom, or from something. It's unfamiliar. I remember writing a verse today. Let me find it. My Quran. Let me get my Quran. Let me get my Quran. My Holy Quran. And it says, I've got it somewhere here. Literally just reading it before. It's really interesting. It says, and I'm going to do an Instagram post about this because I'm already doing the write-up for it. I'm already going into the volumes about it. It says, and when the truth came to them, they said, this is enchantment, and surely we are disbelievers in it. And they say, why was not this Quran revealed to a man of importance in the two towns? Do they apportion the mercy of thy Lord? We portion out among them their livelihood in the life of this world, and we exalt some of them above others in rank. That some of them may take others in service, and the mercy of thy Lord is better than that which they amass. But it's that part where it says, why was not this Quran revealed to a man of importance of the two towns? Do you see how we, we are still not quite ready as we say we are, because somebody so small, somebody so seemingly irrelevant could waltz up with the truth, just as Abraham did, just as Moses did and Pharaoh, just as Jesus did, just as Muhammad did. They were seemingly irrelevant to the people, but turns out they were the most relevant thing that they could have actually had as a way out, or as a way to back to their Lord and back to their, their ultimate peace, their ultimate salvation, their ultimate rescue. Because Allah says He saves the believers. He doesn't allow He never allows the believers to go down with the wicked. That's never the case. And He's so stern on it. He allowed Lot's wife to be caught up in it. Lot had to bear the burden that his wife would get, would be left behind. So all these things we have to bear in mind, and we have to just really use our hearts and pray for guidance. And this is why the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan is so important. And we can't do what other people in the past have done to their prophets, really to our prophets, to their prophets at that time, and think that that's not applicable in this time with the messengers in this time. So we have to be very, very careful how we operate, because we have to just be careful. You understand? God is intervening in our affairs directly, and he chooses whom He pleases, and He admits into His mercy whom He pleases, and He raises by degrees whom He pleases. And as I've been one to recognise, the minister is a man, of high degrees, operating in high degrees. He is somebody that I have offered my life to, and all this work that you'll be, receiving is a reflection of my proving that, inshallah, if it be Allah's will. So we're going to carry on. Okay. I'm willing to walk away from anything that threatens the harmony I now have with my Creator. The lesson I learned in the cave is that I put myself back in the cave by surrounding myself with the dragon that breathes fire. God, I don't know where I was there. Wait, I'm going to read that again. I'm willing to walk away from anything that threatens the harmony I now have with my Creator. The lesson I learned in the cave is that I put myself back in the cave by surrounding myself with the dragon that breathes fire. Oh, I see what I'm saying. So, you put yourself in a very dangerous place when you surround yourself with those, when you connect with those that breathe fire on your, on your light. Some people want to genuinely break you down, and spew words over, you know, your wisdom or your like natural way of understanding, or just what God has allowed you to see, visualize, and then bring forth into reality. Some people really want to, you know, they really want to get involved in that in a negative kind of way, and plant some seeds that, you know, plant seeds of doubt. And, you know, sometimes doubt can be impregnated in the most subtle of ways, and thankfully I'm willing to walk away from anything that threatens the harmony I now have with my Creator. So we should follow that guidance, you know, walk away from anything that is anything. It can be your mother, can be your father, can be your nearest of kin, can be your wife, can be your best friend, can be your boss at work. You know, as soon as they start breathing fire, as soon as they start, you know, threatening in whatever way, I mean, learn to find a spiritual connection, because you'll be surprised what people will do to move you, you know. But stay planted, you'll be the winner. Trust in the process, trust in Allah, call on the God, and be continuous, and don't forget to pray. Okay, I'm going to study scripture and help you understand what I understand. Yep, that's like a declaration. Sometimes I make little declarations to myself in my old writings. Again, these are old writings, older writings. Maybe they're more new than you think, but they're older than a lot of the things that I've been... Oh, it's 2019, as you well know. Anyway, okay. You must be thinking, who is this so-called God that is man? Oh, sorry. You must be thinking, who is this so-called God that this man would give up everything he had to become? Give up everything he had to become in harmony with his will. I would give up my life for him. Yeah, it's powerful. So some people, yeah, because when I was growing, you know, into the minister, there would be people that have been like, yo, you're like the best rapper in the world, bro. You're the best footy player we've ever seen. You know, you've got the best of things. Genuinely, like, I'm not capping. Like, I've had some real gifts. I've had some real moments where, like, you know, I can go places in the world, but... And then I put here, they must be thinking, who is this so-called God that this man here would give up everything he had to become in harmony with his will? Well, that's the beauty, is that at that time, I knew what they knew not, clearly. I just knew what they knew not. I was like, yo, don't you know that that's the Messiah? I'm like, well, you might not get it, but it doesn't matter if you don't get it, so long as I stay focused. In time, you might get it. Because I'm, you know, I mean to do him proud, and I mean to do us proud, you know. And, you know, my family didn't make sacrifices for nothing, and I didn't make sacrifices of my family for nothing. So I don't intend to get to the atmosphere and fold just because there's a bit of fire. Like, I'm gonna Iron Man that thing and go through it. I'll have to go fight Thanos on Titan if I have to. So, you know, even if he throws a moon at me, I'll throw one back at him. Okay. I'm an Avenger. That's what it is. I'm an Avenger. I take bad guys out. I'm a city defender. Okay. This is one of my it's my second rap that I ever created. Fun fact, because it's relevant if you've been watching the episodes. Do you know what the first rap I ever wrote was? Are you ready what it was called? You're gonna laugh, you're gonna smile. If you've been watching anyway. The first rap that I ever wrote, I called it Lucky. Slow motion. Yep, that's true. Okay. In fact, I think the second one was not the Avenger. The second one was called Conspiracy. Um, One day I'll go through it. Maybe. Here we go. Let me throw this out there. Because I've got just as much lyrics, if not more, than I've got this stuff, like these writings, these types of writings. So, and believe me, if I went into the meaning of my lyrics, oh my Lord, Lord have mercy, it'd be just as exciting. It could be just as exciting anyway. So, I always told myself as well, like, I'd say like 2022, 23, that era, I was telling myself, yo, I've wrote the next 20 years of my life already. So like I've kind of like put myself 20 years ahead. And by the way, if this is too personal in terms of me for you and it bothers you, I don't think you should like continue to listen to me, because if me telling you a little bit about me bothers you and it's a bit too much for you, then I just don't understand that, because I've really got a lot that I would like to empty of myself and to share about my journey. It's ultimately my testimony, not just, revelation and giving out messages. It really is a testament to my inner life and the inner quality of my heart and some of the experiences that has helped me as a believer, and that has, kept me on track as a believer. And I've gone through things that I just would like to share in it. So I hopefully, when I talk about myself, it's not something that kind of ruffles your feathers. Although if it does, I really don't care. I really don't care. But I'm considerate like that. I just, So yeah. Okay. I did say I was going to make this short, but you know how it goes. Okay, wait, I missed one then. I'm not the one asleep to my open enemy. I am well aware of forces that are openly working to deceive evil, working to devise evil against the best part of the human being, which is the soul, Allah. I'll say that again. I'm not the one asleep to my open enemy. I am well aware of forces that are openly working to devise evil. To devise evil, that's what that's supposed to say. It says devise, but working to devise evil against the best part of the human being, which is the soul. The best part. The best part. It reminds me of like the best part of the planet. You know how Allah and his holy wise scientists, the 24 scientists, and just the wise gods, they settled on the best part of the planet, when they, all those many generations ago. Because we are talking eons, and 76 trillion years is the record we have. That's the record we have. That is just, I mean, we really say that number and we don't fully stomach that. It's really something to think on. Really think over that number, guys. It's, go into it. It's really something. Okay. Rather than letting it haunt you, be in direct harmony with it. Wisdom is one of the attributes of God, the all-wise. See? The all-wise, that's one of God's names. Praise be to Allah. Wisdom is the beautiful bully. Wait, what? Told you I get poetic in this thing. We love it. Wisdom is the beautiful bully. Just keep picking on people that are lost in the playground of life. Wait, what? That's spinning me out, that. I got a wobble in my motion now. Okay, I want to read that again. I want to understand it. That's what it is. I want to understand it, where I am, where I'm saying it. Okay. Wisdom is the beautiful bully. Just picking on people that are lost in the playground of life. Yeah, I kind of get it now. sometimes I can be a very kick the curb kind of brother to listen to. Like, you'll be kicking the curb and then you put me on and I'll sort you out. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you're having one of those just walking down the street, it's raining, you're kicking a curb, earphones in, one of them doesn't work. Stick me on. I bet I'll comfort you. I'm that kind of brother. I like to give comfort to those who need it most. Sometimes I don't know anything other than that, but I love Allah for giving me that kind of gift, that kind of spirit, to be able to comfort people, to comfort folk. Okay, we're going to keep going. We are going to speed up, guys. I keep saying that, but I don't. But alright. Space doesn't exist, it's just an absence of matter. We're not going to go deep on that. Maybe we can do that another time, but I'm not going to do this that time. Okay, the Prince of Darkness is always a gentleman. That's a deep one. So you can expect, you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of Eyes Wide Shut, if you've ever seen that film. Just it reminds me of the vibe of it, like, they're all in smart clothes. And it's kind of like this Epstein stuff, I can imagine that, smart clothes. They talk very, very, what's the word? They use big, massive words to talk to each other. Like House of Commons type thing. When they're all in the House of Commons. Like, if you ever get the chance, yeah, go into that. No, not go into, because you might not come out the same. But, go and have a look at some of the debates in the House of Commons in the UK. It is one of the most mind-blowing things you'll ever see. So look, the Prince of Darkness is always a gentleman. Do you know what I mean? I'm a gentleman, and I'm not making mockery, but, there's something, it really is something to listen to this man that, it's like the Keir Starmers and that. It's just like, as big as you make your words to be, there is no spirit in it. There's no spirit in it. So, and we as a nation, we're very good at, like, well, Elijah Muhammad said, speak straight words. See? That's why they probably couldn't last 5 minutes with us, any of us. That's probably why they don't, they don't be in our atmosphere like that, because it's just not gonna, all that old time stuff, big vocabulary, it's just not gonna work. It's not gonna run on us. It's not gonna, yeah. Okay. I'm going to all the dark places that you just won't go to. I'll experience all the pain that you openly avoid. I'll be the candle that consumes itself to light the way for everyone else. And I will be doing it alone if I have to. I'll be that guy. Because I am that guy. I'm the guy that's willing to put his own life on the line, that maybe you guys all see the light and rise up against the powers and wickedness in high places that threaten and devise plots against our collective love. I'm that guy. There's always a way. Light shines. Be and it will be. Praise be to Allah. Sometimes I really look at the old me and I think, you brave child. You brave child. Sometimes I blow my own mind sometimes. The minister sometimes has to take a minute to think over what came through him. You see him, he says something like, when it he says, right, he goes, when it comes out, I'm looking at it. And it's true. It really is true that when he talks about that in that kind of way. Praises be to Allah for always turning my um, pain into a source of joy in some way, shape, or form. I always say that I always, when I cry, he always leaves me with a smile. It's very interesting. That'll be in one of these writings somewhere, but we'll probably get to it in about 20 years. So you'll have a beard by then and everything. It'd be great. That's the women included. No, I'm joking. Okay, let's get back on it. Let's go. I am in so much awe because of how much my life and my mind has been transformed. And I give all thanks and praise to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. My heart is not as clean and my mind is not as clear as I want them to be, but I'm absolutely in the right path to the possibility of that. That was faith. See, I'm just faith in this thing, yo. I pray that I never arrogate to myself the perfection of knowledge and understanding, because there's always something to be open to. There is always a way. I feel so thrilled at my teacher Louis Farrakhan today. His mind is just like a flame that ignites my mind, humble enough and willing enough to listen to the power of truth. Oh, praise be to Allah. I'm really in love with that man. He really is like the light of my life. Right. He really is. So, we must move on swiftly. There is a nail underneath the nail. What? There is a nail underneath the nail, which is a lot more sensitive and not to be played with. When you have pulled or ripped that nail. Oh, okay. I'm not. See, I thought about the actual like a plank kind of nail, but I'm actually talking about your fingertips here, like your nails. So just hear me out again. There's a nail underneath the nail, which is a lot more sensitive and not to be played with. When you have pulled or ripped that nail, it will be very painful for you. That nail behind the nail, the front nail, represents the inner self, and the outer nail represents the outer self. The inner self is endangered in a society like this, and so to protect the inner self, we must grow. Sorry, I'm just thinking of something that I want to say, but it's already making me laugh. The inner self is endangered in a society like this. Sorry, I can't get it out of my head now. Sorry. Let me just compose myself a minute. No wonder the minister starts laughing in his lectures uncontrollably. Alright, let me start this bit again. The inner self is endangered in a society like this. And so to protect the inner self, we must grow the outer nail without biting the growth or giving in to the desires that comprises an elevation. Without a strengthened inner self, we mustn't leave our inner selves exposed to the influence of this world, lest we intake indecency through an entrance that we are unaware of. We're actually given clippers by this world so that we never manifest protection from the sickness of society. And they say that, and then it stops going there. But what I found funny, sorry, it was I could just picture me like biting my nails and then learning this because I've gone too far. So that's probably, sometimes it's really funny. Like I've had other times, like for instance, I'll have a stone in my shoe, and I'm like, I wish this stone would just get out my shoe. And sometimes we walk with it in the shoe. I think I made a post about this, but like I remember learning so much from just having a stone in my shoe. Because like that's what it's like to have something on the inside. You see what I'm saying? It's on the inside of your shoe, but it's a reflection of something on the inside of ourselves. We have to get the stone out. We have to take the shoe off. You know, give it a tap and watch the rock fly out, and you're like, yeah, get out. So, all right. Sometimes the sword is safer plunged inside us. Oof. Pulling it out will only send you asunder. Oof. Gosh, I must have been in some pain. I must have been in so much pain. No doubt. I'm still going through it. But, yeah. Stop laughing if you're laughing. Come on, this is serious work, this. This is serious work. God, it's a funny one, this one, isn't it? It is for me. Sometimes you gotta laugh at yourself, man. I laugh at myself a lot. A lot. Probably a bit too much. Alright. Pharaoh. God, this is deep. Well, it's not deep, it's just warrior like. You ready? Pharaoh, you are the pork of the planet. Ugh, I'm not happy with Pharaoh, me. We are not happy with Pharaoh. There are many doors to the soul, the eyes, the mouth, the ears. There are many doors to the soul, the eyes, the mouth, the ears. Think over that. There are many doors to the soul, the eyes, the mouth, the ears. I would say even the nose. I mean, you smell that pork, bro. You feel violated, man. You're like, what is that? What are those? You know, it really does smell when you've stopped eating like pork. And somebody's cooking that bad boy in the frying pan, man. You want to vacate the estate. Never mind the room. So, all right. On the outside looking into this society, we are all very quick to stir up what's popular through our personal opinion. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that in one sense, but sometimes I recognise that we make a situation worse because of how desperate we are to express our view on it, to get involved in it. We make situations more difficult because of how much attention we give, to what's in the spotlight. In fact, most of the time, over the subject, the spotlight is actually what we desire the most, or some form of recognition. The most frustrating part is that we are so much faster to stir up conflict and beef than we are stirring up the brightest solutions onto productive development. And that's what the minister says, like, in one of his lectures. He's like, we're dead quick to speak ill on somebody and talk bad or slander somebody. We love that gossip talk, the he said, she said stuff. You know, yeah, we really do just like make it a conversation. You know, it's an ugly thing that we do. You know, I walked to the shop before with a housemate, and he started talking to me. Right, he started talking to me about his brother's girlfriend. By the way, I'm about to teach you how to deal with it, not to do exactly the opposite of what I just said. So don't get it twisted. He said, such and such, I don't like his girlfriend and all this and all this. I'm thinking, you're talking to the wrong brother here, bro. I'm like, I'm not the guy. So let me tell you in this sentence that I'm not the guy to do this ever again with. I said, listen, brother. I said, you might not like your brother's girlfriend, but let me tell you this, brother. I said, every no good woman was made a no good woman by a no good man. So next time you think about how you don't like the sister, maybe you should consider the brother that made her a no good woman. Well, that was the end of that. Let's just say that. So, don't allow people to slander you and stuff. Slander others in front of you. Don't allow that. Just don't allow it. It's that simple. Be stern. Be firm. And help them to learn. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay, we're nearly there. We are really nearly there. It's only a short one, but it's probably not, knowing me. I don't know. I can never see the time, so Sometimes I've got no idea what time it is in these things. Okay. Anxiety isn't necessarily dangerous, it's just uncomfortable, which gives you all the reason to go through it. You're not going to die, you're just going to have to put up with an itch that you can't scratch just yet. You're going to learn a thing or two about yourself and others through the anxiety that this society, through the desperate desire for attention and riot. And it just stops there. It's almost as though I start something but I don't finish it. Story of my life. I've been trying to get, been getting that box off. Really, I always get so creative and so ahead of myself that I end up doing nothing, so it's really funny. But Allah has a purpose for it, I know He does, and I know, it's always worked out in the end. Whatever way I've ever found that out to be, it all kind of makes sense in a way. But anxiety is something, it's almost like well, again, this is a stage in my life where I'm probably like going through a lot of this stuff, going through a lot of these growing pains at the beginning. And I'm trying to make sense of a lot of it and trying to, kind of almost again reassure myself that it's fine to have a little bit of anxiety. It's not unnormal to go from, somebody who doesn't have any idea of the knowledge of God and the knowledge of self to then having not just access to it, but having the purest access and purest form of the access that you can get to that through the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Like, hence why, Scripture does say you're going to be changed, in the twinkling of an eye, and it's because the example that we're going to have is so great that it's going to just have such a, it's genuinely like the sun hitting the fruits and the plants and the earth. It just causes it to grow and swell and be alive again, and that can be a really hard thing to get to. You know what I'm saying? When you're a seed in the ground, I'm sure that dark period, like you're in the womb, everything in what eventually comes to the light is always, if not usually, if it's of value, it's in the dark at first. It's hidden. So, if anybody is going through any of that sort of stuff, I hope these words like offer and can be taken as a form of comfort for that process. You know what I'm saying? So, and I do try to, yeah. I try to make it as plain as I can, even though sometimes, like my family say, oh, you speak in riddles and all this, and you speak in gibberish, and sometimes it's like, well, it's not gibberish, and it's not riddles, it's just, wisdom it has its own language. Sister Tynetta said something that always sticks with me, always makes me think about it. She says, she says like, I have another language or something. I always think, what is that other language that Sister Tynetta knows? And maybe it's the language of like wisdom or something. I've probably done a write-up, pretty sure I have somewhere about that. I mention it a lot in my writings or in some stages of subjects. I can't wait to reach certain subjects, by the way, to share. I'm really excited to reach certain things to say to you. But we'll get there, inshallah. Like I say, in 20 years. So, all right, let's keep going. We are nearly there. Gosh, we're nearly there. Everyone got it bad in some way, but some want everyone to know that they got it bad more than they want to suck it up and seek a solution to their plan. Yeah, their pain. Sorry, not plan. Seek a solution to their pain. Some people wallow in their sorrow. You follow? So, like, we've got so much to be happy about. We've got so much to work for. Like, there's a great field awaiting the wide awake man. We ain't got time. I mean, listen, I know it hurts, beloved, to know that your ancestors and your foreparents were in that condition in terms of like slavery and believe me, I know it's in the blood, it's in the genes, it's in the sphere, man. It's in the they say love is in the air. Well, pain is in the air, right? So I get it. But trust me when I say the joy of the truth, the joy of the minister, the joy of having the pleasure of helping the minister, it and the work involved, that part, the work involved is really what takes your mind into the heavens and keeps you there, instead of coming back down to the hells and going, oh, why me and woe is me and all this stuff. And just keep your head down, but also keep it up, if you get what I mean. So head down working, but attitude wise, keep your head up. Down is not down if you've got an up attitude. Praise be to Allah, because that's so true. And that's Farrakhan saying that, not me. But I just remember it. Because, as you know, in other episodes I've said I'm good at remembering things. Because I love it. You know what I'm saying? We anyway. Okay. Okay. I feel like I'm in a position that can see a society clearly. Sorry. I feel like I'm in a position that can see a society clearer than society sees itself. I've not really felt part of this society for a good while now. And is it any wonder, says the introverted Clies within. Some people call me the Clies, like, oh, it's the Clies. I used to call myself the Doctor, like, Dr. Clies. I don't know, I was just creative. Because I used to, like, obviously my name's Lyriclize as an artist, like, and it means lyric god. Because Clies is not a word that's in the dictionary. You can't find that word anywhere. And I've kind of wrote my own language as well in this thing that I've done, or sort of. I've got it here. I don't use it, but I've got it. But yeah, like it just means God of lyrics, the Clies within, because and the C stands for connection. Because it connects the lyric to the Clies, it makes them together, it binds them. Yeah, I don't know why I told you that, but it's not really relevant really that much anymore because I'm not really doing as much music. But I'm sure Allah has a way with Allah has a way with your sacrifices. No, always know that. Okay. The scariest part is you don't think you have to move in accordance to a call from the Lord of the worlds. Slow motion. That's deep. It's true that we really can't. Sometimes we can't recognize when God is speaking. And again, to go back to the Quran, you know, it's as though we look for people who have great importance as the people whom Allah will deposit his, you know, scepter to and his sphere of intelligence to. But we should always know by now that Allah uses the least of us. The tail will become the head. So, you know, so that's the scariest part, is you don't think you have to move in accordance to a call from the Lord of the worlds. You know, and I seen today, or heard today from somebody, he was the minister, always usually is, but he said how, you know, we are Allah, so we have to know, we have to be able to know when Allah is speaking to us, and not focus so much on the person. You know, when Elijah Muhammad said he looked up at the balcony, he said, don't focus on how I'm saying it. You focus on what I'm saying, and then you take it and you put it in that fine language that you know. See what I mean? See how even someone like the minister, as beautiful as his heart is and was and always will be, he was thinking in his brain, he was thinking in his mind, nah, this man can't even talk. Or like, he was already doing he wasn't as important as I thought he was going to be. See what I'm saying? Even the minister was there on that. You know, I'm not going after the minister. I'm not a schmuck. Pardon me, but, you know, I'm not crazy to do that. But I can point out where the minister, you know, has come up and has came up, just like we have the ability to come up, you know, which is for the most part in ignorance. You know, we're coming up from ignorance. I remember the minister saying he's just a piece of junk on the pile that Elijah picked. Just like now think of a pile of junk. He's referring to himself as a pile of a piece on the pile. I hope this is coming across the right way. Lord have mercy. There's a prayer that we make. It says, surely I can say that I am of myself nothing, and I can do of myself nothing. Only He, it is Allah, that can guide one's heart, one's mind, one's soul, one's strength, one's essence, to become an instrument of His understanding and a reminder of His love and light and a reflection of His presence. And so, well, I make that prayer anyway. That's one of mine that I make. You know, it's a reminder, like, I can, you know, you've got your arms up at that point. It's the surrender move, you know. When they say, freeze, you know, when they say, freeze with the gun and your hands go up, you know, that's the motion we got to make sometimes. It's like, yo, don't do anything, please, you know. Praise be to Allah. I'm praying that this comes across the right way. But we're nearly there now. We've got 3 things left to say. 3 little things. My dark grows equally as much as my light, and as somebody that devotes his soul to the light, that is an unnerving realization to take in. It's deep, that one, isn't it? Don't worry, I don't intend you no harm. But we have to know that, you know, sometimes, you know, the inner enemy gets its understanding from the light that we grow into. So they say on every level there's a different devil. So that's to deal with that. So you'll think that you made it, but then the minute you got it is the minute you lost it. The minute you think you got it is the minute you lost it, beloved. So praise be to Allah for everything that comes through. I'm so protected. I can't even believe. I can't even begin. That's the word. I can't even begin to explain how. Hence why the work is so serious, and I'm so enthralled and overjoyed when I'm in it to win it. Okay. 2 things left here. Oh no, 3. There needs to be a measure of what is right and what is wrong, and who better to judge right and wrong than the God of justice? Praise be to Allah. Next one. I'm hard to believe, yet so far from deceived. And the last one. Too afraid are often those with guidance. Oh, praises be to Allah. And you're wondering, why is he praising Allah on that one? Well, I'll tell you why. Okay, let's get to it. Because Allah just gave me the verse straight up. We're going to go to chapter 17 together. Hopefully. We like Rey, be with me in Rise of Skywalker. Be with me. We're going to go to chapter 17. We're going to go to verse 100. And it says, if you control the treasures, no, it says say, if you control the treasures of the mercy of my Lord, then you would withhold them for fear of spending, and man is ever niggardly. Now, to anybody that doesn't know that word niggardly, that wasn't me swearing. I wasn't saying anything that is a bad word. I know what word you may have thought it was, but it wasn't. It just means you are withholding in the wrong kind of way. It means, you know, I think niggardliness is something, you know, you could say it in a different way, selfishness, or like greed, or you could say niggardliness is, Yeah, I think I've explained it well enough there. But that's not the point. That wasn't even the point that I was making. It's that let me go back to it because I put it all away. Yeah. So it's not that we don't want to give it, yeah. It's that we've had to endure a certain period of time because not only do we want to give out the truth in the best manner, but I don't think you can fathom how much I respect the Nation of Islam. And I can't even sometimes fathom the amount of respect that I have for the Nation of Islam, to the like to the expense of my own life. You know what I mean? Like, and so to make a wrong step is like and should be our worst nightmare, really, when it comes to the nation and to those in the nation. And so we should always try to, you know, redeem ourselves from any mistakes and any just be careful when it comes to the Nation of Islam. Always be careful, you know. Just be a careful brother or a careful sister, because Allah didn't come to make, you know, anything but gods. He wants to make a nation of gods. But that's today's episode, guys. And next week, yeah, I mean, technically it's tomorrow, but next week we've got some new stuff coming. I'm excited to share that with you. You know, Ramadan's coming, Saviour's Day's coming. Oh my God, praise be to Allah. And, you know, keep yourself safe, keep yourself protected, and thank Allah, and thank your parents if they're still around, and thank them if you're able to connect with them. And, you know, practice giving a good word to people. Practice just giving something of good to somebody you don't know, you know. But yeah, we're gonna I'm getting tired now. It's getting late where I am. I told you I've been getting early nights, so I've been naturally flagging out quite early. So, and I'm getting to that point now. I've laughed it all out, and I'm all tired, and I'm all nice and tired now, ready for bed. Hopefully I see you tomorrow. You know, if Allah gives me my soul in the morning to live another day of life, then I'll be doing episode 8 tomorrow. To be Allah's will, and it'll be uploaded a little bit earlier. I think because it's been the weekend, I've been uploading them a little bit later. I've kind of had some things I've had to run through, so you know, it'd be sort of uploaded at the normal time. I think it's like between 2 and 3, maybe a bit earlier, depends. So yes, but you know, look after your loved ones, look after those that need guidance. You know, if you see a brother or a sister not understanding anything, or not understanding something, make sure you go and try to give them some understanding if you can see that they need it, even if they can't see that they need it. You see what I'm saying? If they need somebody you know you've got, you know, in the best kind of manner, you know, try and help them with all your might, and do things at a pace that you think is best. You know, try to just watch the minister. He is just sublime when it comes to helping others. And yeah, so happy Saviour's Day, and I pray we should pray for Ishmael to deliver such a great message, as he always does, and he always makes me laugh. He always makes me smile. So, you know, let's pray for Ishmael as well, to be given the spirit and to be given the right messages, and, you know, let us help our brother, because whether we know this or not, but Ishmael has a very, very, you know, heavy duty given by Allah through the Honourable Minister Louis Farrakhan to him, that, you know, we should be thinking nothing but wanting him to succeed with that. You know, only a fool would want somebody like Ishmael, or somebody with a responsibility from Allah to fail or to fall from their, countenance, or have their countenance fall. So let us pray for Ishmael, and let us just stay on course. And yeah, assalamu alaikum everyone.